Let's talk about vaginas. Now imagine a world where the very sound of the word vagina sparks laughter and not awkward silence, where women feel empowered to understand and discuss their bodies without any fear or stigma. Sounds revolutionary, right? Hello, everyone, and I'm thrilled to have you join me today on this journey across cultures and continents, where we delve into the uncharted territory of women's health, specifically the vaginal microbiome. Now, what is this microbiome? Well, the microbiome is a hidden world inside us of tiny microorganisms like bacteria, fungi, viruses, and so on. They live in and on our bodies. I think you can kind of see it like a bustling city where microorganisms are like citizens, each with a crucial role to make sure that everything runs smoothly. They are invisible to the naked eye, but they are crucial to our health. So simply said, the microbiome is a collection of microorganisms that live in our gut, on the skin, in our mouths, and even in our vaginas. So every body part has like a unique microbial fingerprint, and they're really crucial in making sure that we digest our food, but also that we fight off harmful pathogens, and they help boost our immune system and even our mood. You can kind of see it like plants and animals that depend on each other to make sure that the forest stays healthy. Our body depends on the microbiome to be balanced so that we are healthy. Because if our microbiome is out of balance, we can fall into illness. When it is in balance, we thrive. So these microbes are not our enemies. Actually, they're kind of a bit our friends, and they make sure that we are happy and healthy. Now, for us to really care and understand our microbiome, we can this way unlock actually a better health. Now, let's talk about the vaginal microbiome. But first, let's delve a little bit deeper why I'm here today. Because the vaginal microbiome helps us to hold off infections, but it also influences fertility, pregnancy, and all kinds of other health issues. Yet the shocking part, for the last 40 years, we've had no major breakthroughs in vaginal health therapies. This is baffling, especially in the 21st centuries. I mean, think of it. In the same time span, we have mapped the human genome, pioneered AI, we've even sent rovers to Mars. But science on the vagina, largely ignored. Now let me tell you a little bit more about this microbiome and this vaginal microbiome. What you see behind me is a fluorescent microscopic image of vaginal cells. And if I tell you that in a healthy vagina, there is a powerful army of silent warriors at play. And these are called lactobacilli, that you see here in fluorescent green. Now, if we zoom in a little bit deeper with an electron microscope, we can truly appreciate their role and how they protect our vaginal health. What do these lactobacilli do? Well, they produce lactic acid that lowers the pH and creates an acidic environment that shields off infections. But they do even more than that. They can also maintain our vaginal barrier and make sure, by sending biochemical signals, that our vaginal cells are resilient and protective. Now, remarkably, these lactobacilli are not just only in the vagina. You can also find them in the gut, where they promote gut health. They boost our immune system, they could even reduce inflammation and aid our mental health. And those who ever heard about lactobacilli know that they're a little bit similar as the ones found in yogurt. So remember, the next time that you're enjoying your morning yogurt, you're not just starting your day right, you might be giving your vagina a little bit of love too. Now, I told you that these lactobacilli are important, but the research about their mechanisms in the vagina has been lagging for decades because women's health wasn't a priority. And also, because research teams were lacking diverse voices and inclusivity. And now is a time to change that. Now is a time to bridge these gaps, and by really taking charge and driving real-world change. So, picture this. You're in a remote village in Cameroon, where cultural traditions run deep. You're a researcher, and you need to talk to the head of the tribe, because you need to gain permission to talk with the women and discuss their health. This is not just paperwork. This really is about building bridges between cultures. Now let's go all the way to the other side of the world. You're a brave soul trekking through the Amazon, facing rivers, thick foliage, to gather invaluable data. Why? Because you want to reach women untouched by scientific inquiry. Now let's go to the southern part, Moroccan Sahara. You're a researcher traveling from one remote village to another, not just to collect data, but to share knowledge about vaginal health and women's health by engaging the local communities. And then there is us in Antwerp, diving into the vast data sets to uncover mysteries and mechanisms of the vaginal microbiome. Why? Well, like I told you, the vaginal ecosystem protects us from infections. It influences everything from menstruation to menopause and even beyond. But if it's so important, why don't we know what a healthy vaginal microbiome looks like? Because to really understand disease, we need to define health and understand health first. Enter the ISALA project. In March 2020, we set out with a very simple goal. We wanted to recruit 200 women to take a sample of their own vagina. And skeptics laughed. They told us, women would never want to do this. But women proved them wrong, because within 10 days, more than 6,000 women registered. Let that sink in. Not just a number on the screen, but 6,000 individuals of different backgrounds saying, we want answers and we deserve answers. We even won the European Union prize for this. And so the ISALA project was born. It was named after Isala van Diest, the first female physician in Belgium. She was not allowed to study medicine. She went to Switzerland, came back, was not to practice medicine, went to the UK, came back, and she changed the law. And she devoted her life for women's well-being. So rightfully, we chose her as a role model. So right now, we have a growing global data set of more than 99 different cultures, with their oldest participant being 98 years old. So think about that, in a retirement home. But even more so, we have inspired researchers in Cameroon, Peru, Morocco, in almost 20 countries, spanning 5 continents, to join our sisterhood, to study the vaginal microbiome in their own environment, and naming the project after their own role model. Now, this isn't just about looking for swaps. This is about creating a global atlas of the vaginal microbiome. Now, I hear you thinking, what have you discovered? Well, we have already discovered some really cool things. So first of all, we found that lactobacilli are our ally, and that 80% of women in Belgium are dominated by lactobacilli. And the other 20%, they had a diverse microbiome that could make them more vulnerable for infections or other conditions. However, we also found in our sisterhood countries that women had different vaginal microbiomes and were dominated by different bacteria. So we must be very careful with bold claims that rely solely on data of Western populations. Now, what have we also found? Age matters. As a woman grows older, especially after menopause, her vaginal microbiome became more diverse, making her more prone for infections. Also, pregnancy leaves a mark. Even if it didn't end up in a birth, we saw a difference between women who were ever pregnant and those who weren't. And let's not even talk about the menstrual cycle, where hormonal fluctuations play a big role. Right after your period, vaginal microbiome was a bit more diverse, but as your cycle progresses, it stabilizes again. And then the next month again, and the next month again. Even diet, recent sexual intercourse, choice of hormonal contraceptives, and even the choice of menstrual hygiene products. They kind of resulted in having more or less protective lactobacilli. We actually even found that some lactobacilli produce novel antibiotics and vitamins, and maybe potentially influence our brain. Now, all these discoveries are just the beginning. We need to really confirm them in intervention studies, in mechanistic studies, to make sure what the cause is, and that it's not just associations. However, what they tell us already, the vagina is not just a one-size-fits-all. It's shaped by all kinds of lifestyle and environmental factors. Now, what I think actually is the coolest thing about it, and the most powerful thing, is that women are really leading the way here. Already in the 1970s, women took to the streets of Boston, demanding for equality. They published this book, Women and Their Bodies, about all kinds of topics that are still relevant today. And they even said, and I quote, "We emphasize that you take a mirror and examine yourself. After all, you are your body, and you are not obscene." So around the world, throughout history and today, women are stepping up as citizen scientists. They are participating in research and actually driving discoveries in women's health. Now, what is citizen science? It is a powerful approach that invites the public to actively participate in research. It helps us to bridge knowledge gaps, it amplifies underrepresented voices, and makes sure that science is really following the needs of society. It truly is a game changer in actually breaking barriers between researchers and the public, because citizen science can help everyday people to contribute to data, to ask research questions, and to drive scientific progress in topics historically overlooked. Think, for example, of the Isala Project, where thousands of women said, "I don't want to be a passive subject, I want to be an active participant." Now, what can this collective group help us do in the future? So I envision a future where vaginal health is not just an afterthought, where we care and understand our vaginal microbiome just routinely as we monitor our gut health. I see a future where we will have better diagnostics, where we have diagnostics that are data-driven and personalized, but also novel therapies, that we don't just rely on broad-spectrum antibiotics that disrupt our actually very, very fragile microbial balance, that we think of microbiome-based treatments, for example, probiotics to restore or maintain our vaginal health. But I'm also not just about treating infections. We should prevent them. We should think of lifestyle advice, dietary shifts, maybe even vaginal microbiome-friendly products, so that women can take their health into their own hands and actually really, be there before a problem arises. Now, this isn't just science fiction. This is reality within our reach. But science alone will not get us there. We really need a cultural shift. So what can you do and what can I do? Well, first, we can break the silence on this topic. We can talk about intimate topics such as vaginal health and the microbiome, because change starts with a conversation. Next, we can also empower through knowledge. For example, educating ourselves on the female body. And lastly, we should all get involved, support community-based research. We should advocate for more studies on women's health and push policy to fund us, because this doesn't come cheap. Now, before I wrap up, I just want to leave you with why this is important for me personally. I am Sarah Ahanash, and I'm a microbiologist at the University of Antwerp, where I co-founded the Isala project during my PhD in the lab of Professor Sarah Lebeer. And growing up, I was always taught to be curious, to ask questions, and to never stop seeking knowledge. Because as a Muslim woman, I've also personally experienced that Islam demystifies women's health. Islam has a rich history and tradition of respecting and normalizing women's biological processes. Menstruation is not something to be ashamed of, but just a normal part of the human body. And this openness has really helped me to take charge of my own body. And I hope it can inspire you all as well. But I do realize that there's still cultural taboos on women's health, and they are really holding us back. So that's why I'm here today, because I want to invite each and every one of you to join this movement. Because this is our moment, a moment to rewrite the narrative on women's health, and to ensure that future generations inherit a world where women's health is a shared responsibility. Because if we empower women's health, we don't just change lives, we change the world. Thank you.